Hi and welcome to the first episode of this comic book top 5 feature. For the first episode I'm going to be focusing on my 5 favourite eras of X-Men. So it could be comic books, movies, animation, things like that, but it's mainly going to be comics. But yeah, so at number 5 I'm going to go with the original Ultimate X-Men run, because it got to the Ultimatum, then they relaunched it all. But the first lot of Ultimate X-Men was great. It was written by Mark Millar to kick things off, then Bendis took over later. But they essentially reimagined the X-Men for a more modern sort of audience. This is, but there we can see Beast in a Hawaiian shirt, because why not? But essentially they changed the lineup and gave them all like leather sort of uniforms and stuff to sort of match with the movies, but not quite. So that fans of the movies could have like a jumping on point, because I think this book came out around about a year after the first film, and it went on to do 20 volumes in graphic novels of the first one, and it was just awesome. There's some really cool stuff happened in there, and the artwork was great for him and Andy Kubert on those ones. So yeah, that's number 5. Number 4 is one that I probably should have done higher, but this is the Uncanny XMen by Chuck Austin and the New X-Men by Grant Morrison. So these series both came out at the same time and ran alongside each other. Uncanny X-Men, especially Hope in general, is probably one of my favourite story arcs of all time. It featured like Juggernaut joining the team and other things like that. And yeah, it was just great. It was a great story arc. Whereas New X-Men, on the other side of things by Grant Morrison, was completely turning everything on its head, and there was some kick-ass stuff in there. Fantastic artwork in there. This one's got a lot of art by Ethan Van Sciver. Yeah, it's just a great time for comics. And to be fair, that's probably my favourite time period of comics was around the 2000 to 2004, 2005 sort of time. Because at that point I was eating up anything X-Men. I think I've got a whole run of X-Men graphic novels from around about 2000 to 2005, and then things went downhill. So yeah, so in at number 3 I'm going to go with the Giant-Sized XMen era, the Chris Claremont stuff from the 70s and early 80s. I've got a load of them in the pocketbook format because these are great, and yeah, they're very handy for whenever I've got to travel for anything or anything like that. But yeah, that was really the era of X-Men that put them on the map. So yes, that's why it easily gets a number 3 position. Number 4 is Joss Whedon and John Cassidy's Astonishing XMen. Now, this came out in 2004, and I can remember seeing all the posters that were essentially that. And at the time I was reading Grant Morrison's new X-Men and Chuck Austin's Uncanny X-Men, and well, where the hell's this all gonna tie into things? And then both those story arcs wrapped up at the same time for the X-Men to have like this big relaunch that started with Astonishing. And as you can see, John Cassidy's artwork is absolutely beautiful in here. Some major things happened in the Astonishing X-Men run. There was the Mutant Cure, which was very much the basis for X-Men 3. We got like Summers becoming more of the leader, standing up to Nick Fury and things like that, which was pretty cool. Quite a lot of infighting because of the Cure. And if I can find it, here we go. One of the greatest character reveals in history, and I can remember reading this at the time. It probably doesn't hold the weight anymore because a lot of new fans won't have appreciated it. Won't appreciate it for what it was, because essentially I had in my favourite X-Men, one of my favourite characters was always Colossus, and I remember the Dream's End thing where he sacrificed himself because of the legacy virus and all this, and then he was just gone for a tremendous amount of time, and then we literally got this of Kitty Pryde finding the cell that guards were trying to guard. She goes in to see what there is, you get that little cling, and then the big awesome reveal of Colossus. And then since then they've done all sorts of things with the character, but this was how they brought him back, and it was just awesome. So yeah, this is one of my all-time favourites. purely for that reason. And now on to number one. It's got to be, this has to be number one because it's the thing that got me into the X-Men to begin with, is the animated series. And what I'm just showing off here is the art and making of the animated series by Eric Leward and Julia Leward, who were the showrunners and creators of the X-Men animated series from the 90s. It went for 5 seasons and was just absolutely beautiful. But yeah, that was my introduction to the X-Men and the characters, and I absolutely loved them. And I think I would have been about, I don't know, about 7 or 8 when this show started on TV. Trying to find more things for it, but it's obviously, yeah, influenced by the Jim Lee era, which is also a really great era for comics. So I'm sort of lumping that in with these. But the 90s X-Men and animated series got me into the characters to begin with. Especially the portrayal of Wolverine. Wolverine was friggin' awesome on this. And yeah, so that was essentially, it has to be number one because that's what got me into him. And as you can see from these art pictures and such, anything where it's showing bits from the actual series and character designs, it was pretty spot on. So if any of you got Disney Plus, all the seasons are on there. It's worth, just checking it out because it's just fantastic. Obviously Hugh Jackman was a really great Wolverine in the movies, but Cal Dodd's voice for Wolverine in this animated series is what defines the character for me. So I know a few people, myself included, do a thing where when you're reading comics you can sort of hear the voices in the head, and the voices that I could hear in my head whenever reading a Wolverine or X-Men comic is Cal Dodd's voice. So yeah, no, it's a great series. As you can see, they were tackling all like the more horror level villains like Mr. Sinister and things like that, which was cool. We even got a Dark Phoenix story arc, which was great. The whole thing was awesome. Oh yeah, and Deathstrike, that was friggin' beautiful, that story arc. I mean, I could probably go on about this for ages because it's just such a great show. But I'm going to wrap this up. So that was my top 5 forms of X-Men that I've enjoyed. Obviously, shout out to things like the Wolverine X-Men TV series. That was pretty awesome. And the X-Men Evolution I quite enjoyed. And obviously the X-Men movies, but they had more bad than good towards the end, which is a shame. But Hugh Jackman was always awesome as Wolverine, and Patrick Stewart was great. James McAvoy was great as a young Xavier as well. The actors were good. It was just like some of the storylines and stuff in the films were just no. But yeah. Anyway, so that's my top 5. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please feel free to like and subscribe and all that, and let me know in the comment section if there's anything you want me to tackle in these top 5s, and that'd be great. Thanks. Bye.